Hey everybody, it's Christine, and today I have a just for fun layout using up another one of the page kits from the scrap room. And it was my husband and I's 20th anniversary on the 24th, so I decided to make a layout to celebrate that. Now, one of the questions I get here on my channel a lot is, how do I do this without an electronic cutting machine? So today I'm going to show you just how I made this 20 without a cutting machine, and not because I don't have one, but because I just didn't really want to go all the way down to it to cut out just 20, especially because I didn't have anything fancy to cut out. I was just gonna have to type it, so I decided to print it instead. And I figured this would be a good chance for you to see what I'm talking about when I say print something and use it as a stencil. So you can see I used washi tape to attach it to my patterned paper, and I'm just going around and cutting it out. This works great for things like numbers, shapes, that kind of stuff. If you don't trust your own drawing skills, which I wouldn't, to do it, you can print it and then just use some washi tape, which comes back up pretty easily, as long as you're careful, don't press too hard. And you can make an element for a layout really simply this way. So as I said, I use this for my 20. Now, this page kit that I'm working with is the Summer Market kit from Carta, and it's in the Flavors of the Month kit from the Scrap Room. And I was pretty inspired by the colors in it, as well as some of just the simple patterns that I knew I could use. What I'm going to do for my embellishments is actually fussy cut some flowers. The flowers on this patterned paper that you see came in with a lot of groupings already, so that made it really easy to just cut around that group of flowers instead of having to cut a whole bunch of individual flowers. And I will just use those as my main embellishments. The kit does come with some stickers and some ephemera, but they were a little bit too specific for what I needed for today's layout. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and create a border. I used this really light green striped paper, and I just cut it out 1/2-inch strips, and I'm going to secure those all the way around my border using my Easy Runner Grand, and then I'm going to go ahead and miter the corners. So I'm going to start off mitering them. Now, oftentimes when you see me do this technique, I put them on and then miter. Today I just decided to just go ahead and try mitering them before, and I actually think that's easier, so I will be sticking with that plan. For whatever reason, it's easier to get them more precise and such. So I'm going to add those all the way around the outside of this white cardstock. I am using a white cardstock base for a couple reasons. Number one, I really wanted everything to pop. Second of all, I'm working using Photoshop and learning some new things on that. So I really wanted a white background so I could practice with that. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add some layers. Now, my layout itself was actually inspired by the sketch from Creative Scrapbooker magazine from their sketchy group on Facebook. That said, I really loosely interpreted it. One element that it had 4 rectangles. So I went with that. And then I really kind of veered away from it. That said, if you see the original sketch, you'll kind of know, like, oh yeah, okay, I can kind of see what she did there. And I did post it there in the beginning, so you can get a feel for where I started. You know, and sometimes you end up really sticking to the sketch pretty strictly, and other times you go off in your own direction. But like I said, you can still kind of see where it gave me a jumping off point, whether or not I stayed true to it. So you can see here I'm building up a photo set. This combines the patterned papers as well as my photo. You can see I'm working in that green, that red, and that yellow check. And then I'm going to add my picture above it. Now, what you see in my hands right now is 108 feet of Crafty foam tape. It's a newer product from Scrapbook Adhesives by 3L, and it's a little bit thinner in height than the smaller package of Crafty foam tape. so it doesn't give you quite as much dimension, which is nice. I like that there's options. But so that's what that giant roll is that I was using there. Now the next thing I'm going to do is go ahead and pull up some of the edges of my powdered paper. As I mentioned in yesterday's video, this is a technique that I'm going for quite a bit just because I like how it softens everything up just a little bit. And I don't have to add any special adhesive. I don't have to do anything extra. I can just pull on it and then just kind of rub on it with my hands a little bit to create that look. Now, I want to add a couple things in. First of all, I want to bring some black into the whole layout. So you're going to see that coming in. And how I'm going to do that, as far as adding it in without just putting a black title on, is I'm going to take this brush pen and I'm just going to go all along the outside of several pieces on this, including around the outside of my 20. Creating a distressed ink look. Now, you can achieve this look a lot of ways, especially with ink pads or outlining, using a brush marker. This was the first time I've actually done this, and part of why I opted for it was my ink pads just were going to be a pain on the 2 and the 0, but also I wanted to add it to my patterned papers that I already have on there, and I couldn't very well get an ink pad on there without running a big risk of smearing. So using a brush marker allowed me to be able to do that along those edges without as big of a risk of error. So that was a definite plus. I am also going to just do a little bit of outlining where I have things laying flat, but so like here I'm outlining because it's a flat border, but where I have the pulled up stuff, I'm going to use the brush marker just like I am right here, and just really simply go around the outside and highlight it. All this to be able to bring in a black title. Now again, just like in yesterday's layout, I want to be able to incorporate black. And so I have parts of my title that are black, and I want to use letter stickers that are black. And so all of that, I want to be able to include some other black in the layout so it's not quite so much of a contrast when I do add the black on it. It all kind of just pulls together nicely because of this. So this is just a really simple way to work some extra black or whatever color into your layout. And you can see how that really changes the look of things a little bit too. Not dramatically, but you can definitely see a difference from the beginning to the end there. Now I'm going to go ahead and put my 20 on there, and I'm actually going to pop those up with some of this Crafty foam tape again, and I'm going to stagger those. So you can see I'm going to have the 2 up a little bit higher and the 0 down a little bit lower. Now you can see that I am following my pretty typical process here. I've got my base built, then I add my pictures, then I add my title, and then I begin my embellishing. And I'm going to work my embellishing now, as well as building my title up even more. So I'm going to combine a couple of things here. I'm going to use some Simple Stories letters that come from the Color Vibe collection. These are foam letter stickers. I'm also going to use a chipboard piece from the page kit, and then I'm going to use some flowers all around to embellish things. So right now I'm building it. It says 20 happy years using the chipboard and the foam letters. Okay, then we're going to add on those flowers that I cut out. Now you can see I cut out 3 big groups, obviously trying to create my visual triangle, and then I cut out just a few individual flowers to tuck in to add a little something extra to each cluster, and I will strategically place those around my big built-up title and my picture to help draw the eye in and focus on all those things. Now I'm also going to add in some 3D adhesive, some 3D foam adhesive, as well as using some flat. And I'm actually going to mix and match that within my single flower piece. So I might pop up the leaf, but make the rest of it lay flat or things like that. Now, you can see that I added up top Together for, so my full title says Together for 20 Happy Years. And I love that the title stretches up and down the page and really frames the picture, but also brings an emphasis into the word 20. Ended up just being really neat, and I love the black with just the slightest bit of black throughout the layout. It pops really nicely. After I get all these flowers on here, I'm going to just add in a few enamel dots, and then I will be done. So fairly straightforward layout. Again, based on a sketch from Creative Scrapbooker Magazine's sketchy group. It's the June sketch, and also using a page kit from the ScrapRoom. So thank you so much for being here today. Be sure to check out the Creative Scrapbooker Magazine sketchy group and check out the kits, and I hope you've enjoyed this video, and we will see you again next time.